Hello and welcome along to the Met Service severe weather update for Monday. Well, we've had plenty of wet weather over the weekend, and as we head through the rest of this week, we're going to find that rain that comes back in from the west. Now you can see on these satellite charts a fair amount of cloud waiting out over the Tasman Sea. You can see those red crosses, some thunder and lightning mixed in amongst that as well. So we have got some more active weather back across us as we head through the rest of today. For Monday on that western side of the south side, as we head in towards Tuesday, this rain continues to move eastwards and runs in towards places like Northland, Auckland, the Bear Plenty, Taranaki, and also the top of the south. And you can see those dark blues showing some really heavy, really intense bursts of rainfall as we go through in towards Tuesday. Now, the plus side, it's going to move through fairly quickly, but it is going to bring with it some fairly high amounts of rain. Now you can see on these charts, these are the rainfall accumulation charts as we go through from about midnight on Sunday right the way through in towards Monday and Tuesday. The heaviest areas of wet weather will be on that western coast, places like Westland and down towards Fiordland, those northern parts of the South Island, but also generally it's that western side of the country right the way across. Some fairly large amounts of rain as we go through the rest of Monday, Tuesday, and even in towards that first part of Wednesday as well. And like I say, keep in mind we could well find some heavy thunderstorms up through parts of Northland, Auckland and the Coromandel. It is looking like a pretty unsettled story. So we have got some severe weather watches and warnings in place across mainly that western side of the country on both islands, also those northern parts of the South Island and those northern parts of the North Island as well. So let's start off with those active thunderstorms up across the northern parts of the country as we go through in towards Tuesday. So this is from the early hours of Tuesday, 7 a.m. to around about 7 p.m. We have got that heavy rain warning in those areas, 50 to 70 millimetres of rainfall, with that caveat that there could be some really intense bursts of rainfall, some downpours with those thunderstorms as that comes through us. So that's not just a story for the likes of, say, Northland, but similarly down towards Auckland and the Coromandel, similar kind of scenario. We could well find some pretty intense bursts of rainfall, some thunderstorms and some heavy rainfall. Now it's worth saying this is on top of that rainfall we've had recently, so the ground is already very saturated. So this rain may exacerbate pre-existing issues, it may also cause some local flooding, and even some slips as well. So well worth keeping up to date with the forecast, but also the advice from your local authorities as well. We'll carry on our journey southwards. We can see we've got a watch out for that heavy rainfall through the Bay of Plenty for the latter part of Tuesday through towards the early hours of Wednesday morning. We've also got a watch out again for those northern parts of Taranaki. Again, it's again on top of these areas which have seen plenty of rainfall over the last week or so, and a warning in place for Mount Taranaki for the Maungara itself. We are looking at a fair amount of rainfall coming through there, 120 to 150 millimetres of rainfall. Again, with that caveat, we could find some pretty intense bursts of rain as we go through Tuesday. Heading down towards the South Island, where it's only been a very brief reprieve across the top of the south. We've got more heavy rain coming back in from the west as we go through in towards Tuesday. The heaviest in those areas west of Motueka, we are going to find, again, it could be 100 odd millimetres of rainfall through there. And a watch as well out through a similar kind of time for the likes of, say, Buller, and also through towards Nelson and Marlborough, particularly those northern parts of Marlborough up in towards the Sounds. More heavy rainfall as we go through, particularly in towards the latter part of Tuesday, through in towards the early hours of Wednesday morning. Heading southwards, we'll find that heavy rainfall in Fiordland and Westland is with us as we go through the rest of today, through Monday, and that's with us then through in towards Tuesday as well. Easing off in the afternoon across Fiordland, but we've still got some pretty intense amounts of rainfall up through Westland, even on the west coast, which is used to seeing a fair bit more rain in other parts of the country. These are pretty high figures for you guys as well, 250 millimetres to about 300 millimetres of rainfall, on top of, again, a very wet looking end to the weekend. So more rainfall to come with us as we go through Tuesday, and we are, I think, going to find it takes its time to clear through. Some of that rain will also spill across in towards the headwaters of Canterbury and Otago, so some watches and warnings out for those areas there, particularly up about the main divide. Headed towards the east, though, generally a drier story, but even a few spots of rain making their way across in towards Canterbury. So as we go through towards Wednesday, watch out for another burst of heavy showers, thunderstorms perhaps on that western side of the North Island. But you can see we've got a bit of a change in situation. So instead of being dominated by northerly winds, we're in southerly winds. And that's going to bring colder temperatures and even the return of some snowfall about the higher parts of our country as we go through in towards, say, Wednesday and Thursday. Most noticeably, though, will be those cold temperatures which extend right the way across us. So we are going to find a real swing in our temperatures. But you can see just about off the edge there, high pressure edging back towards us should bring some more settled conditions a little bit later on in the week. With plenty happening this weekend with those showers, thunderstorms and some heavy rainfall, please do stay up to date with the latest forecast and, more importantly, with those severe weather watches and warnings. And as always, you can find all of that at metservice.com.